Can you hear me? let's uh, back. Okay, I'm gonna give it one more minute. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to apologize. Okay, I'm gonna give a minute. If it doesn't work, okay, amazing. Do you hear me well? Is it working? So let's try. Do you hear me? Let's try for one more minute. I'm not gonna take much of your time. Amazing. So it seems my VPN finally worked. Okay, let's start the session then. Allow me to start by saying I'm really sorry for the technical issue that happened. I have 3, 4 different VPNs and it's tricky. I don't know which one will work. Even if I tested before, once the session starts, it might not work. So enough about VPN and connection issues. We are here to have a session under Think Business, Sketch Like a Designer, and Code Like a Geek. Who am I? My name is Rayan AlZahab. I come from North Lebanon, from a small city called Tripoli. I am a Google developer expert, which means I do not work for Google, but I speak in Google events. I founded the first GDG in Lebanon, and I am the Women Tech Maker lead in Lebanon and in Dubai. Women Tech Maker is an initiative run by Google to support women in technology through networking, resources, and opportunities. How can you benefit from all of that? You go to the website www.womentechmakers.com. 2 days ago, I was in a conference, and three of the girls attending told me they got invitation to attend the Firebase Summit because they are part of the Women Tech Makers. So I invite all of you to take advantage of this opportunity. My job is a digital consultant at McKinsey & Co. in Dubai. So what are we going to talk about today? You see this picture? It represents every project you will ever gonna be part of. I understand all of you are so eager to participate in the ideathon that's happening soon. By attending this session, I can assure you that you're gonna get a few tips and tricks of how to master your pitch and how to think in the right way. So first of all, whenever we have a problem or whenever we have any idea, the correct way of thinking about it is we need to think business, think like designers, sketch like designer, and code like a programmer. Me as a software engineer, I'm gonna go with you through a small exercise to practice thinking like a business person, sketching like a designer, and coding like a geek. Because once you have an idea, at first you need to be the 3 of them. How do I think like business person? First, I need to set up the goal. What is the goal of my product? What am I trying to achieve? If I ask you, can you tell me what is the goal of Google? Google's goal is to make data accessible to everyone and provide the beneficial, relevant data to the people at the time they want. So whenever you have a problem, ask yourself, what is the goal? What is the solution it's trying to do? This application, what is it trying to do? For example, Uber. The goal of Uber is to help me go from point A to point B, fastest way, more secure way, and the cheapest way. Second thing you do is you Google it. If you're facing a problem and you come up with a solution, believe me, you are not the first people who ever had this problem. And probably you are not the first people who try to find a solution. That's why you have to search for existing solutions. Third step is figuring out your users. So I'm gonna give you an example. You're probably familiar with Uber and Kareem. When the founders of Kareem said, we need a better way to reach from point A to point B, when they searched, they found out that Uber exists. And Uber is a big company doing very well. It's a well-established business. Here, we face three options. The people of Kareem could have said, well, the solution already exists. Why would I bother? Let me stop working and just forget about the idea completely. Or they could have said, let me bring a branch of Uber into my town, into my region, and just make money. But they decided to think in a different way. They said, yes, Uber exists, but Uber does not meet my need. They are not a good solution for me, and they are not in my region, which means they have a missing something. They have a gap. Let me identify this gap and create a product that provides a full solution and fulfill this gap. Kareem's gap that they found in Uber was using the credit card. In order to have an Uber account, you needed to have a payment through credit card, online credit card. But in our region, most of the people either don't have an online payment card or they don't trust online system to put their card account. Therefore, Kareem said, I'm going to use this gap, introduce cash payment, and enter the market using this feature. And this is the right way of thinking. Whenever you have a solution, you're presenting a solution, you need to find this added value that will differentiate you from any other product in the market. After you do that, you need to know your users, you need to know what you are going to provide them and prioritize. How do we do that? By design thinking. The first step of actually understanding the user is to empathize with that user. Love. You need to understand what the user needs, how the user actually lives their life, and how they currently solve this issue. Then you define this user. What is their need? What's their insight? What's their point of view? Let's go a little bit more in deep into those two steps. Empathize and define. I'm going to tell you the story. Adam today is graduating from college with the highest GPA in his class. He's very excited to graduate and start his career to build softwares and web. Adam graduated, applied for over than 30 companies. 2 months later, he didn't get a single call from a single company. 6 months later, still no one reached to him. And he decided he's gonna just work as a waiter in a burger place, regretting all the years he spent studying development. How do you feel? You feel depressed. You feel sad. You started drawing images of Adam in your mind. You started probably seeing yourself as Adam, fearing that one day you're gonna become Adam. And this is what I want you to feel. I want you to feel the impact of the problem and how bad it is. What's the solution? What is the general solution of this problem? Here you define a very general utopia, ideal scenario. We say, Adam wishes if company will hire fresh graduate and invest in them. He wished if university give actually practical training that make him able to go to market directly. But that is not the case. And that we cannot accomplish. After you present the problem this way, you presented how bad the impact of the problem is on an individual, the need it is creating, and the emotional effect of this problem. This is when you present your solution. You say, Adam discovered a program called Bamboo Geeks. This program provides a bootcamp training in digital skills, soft skills, and technical skills to make people able to get a job in programming. After 2 months working night shift at the restaurant and in the morning going to this program, finally Adam was able to quit his job as a waiter, find a job as a programmer, and now he's happily coding and building websites. How do you feel? We feel good. We are happy for Adam. We saw him move from a very sad place to a very better place, to a nicer place. And we empathize with him. We started to feel like we know this Adam and we feel with him. Imagine yourself standing on a stage, pitching your idea, presenting an idea, your own solution. The only way people will remember you along hundreds of teams trying to present their idea is when you reach their emotions. People will forget what you tell them. People will forget what you do to them, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So you need to make sure you make the judges feel with you, feel with your customer, and feel with your solution and how happy it will make them. This way, they will remember you, they will understand what you are trying to do because you related it to an actual person. And I advise all of you to use this small slide to present any problem you have in order to explain it better. Amazing. There's a story, we have a problem, we have a solution. But how do we frame the solution? It's very abstract. We need to frame it better. And this is where we do the ideation. We call the programmer in the team, the designer, the business person, the marketing person, and probably even the client and the customer. And we say, let's sit on one table and try to come up with a cool idea, with a better solution. How we do that? By this, by sticky notes, by colorful, small pieces of paper. Everyone on the table will be in charge of coming up with the 24 features. You remember that the first step we did, we set up a big goal. Now we're gonna say, every one of us individually gonna come up with the 25 features to accomplish that goal. And every person will take 25 stickers, write every idea on a different sticker. After you do that, we're gonna start sharing. So imagine we are a group of 4 people. Everyone came up with 25 ideas. I will start sharing, but we're gonna start sharing in a talkie-walkie mode, which means one person talks, everyone listens. This is the right way of sharing because it will help us maintain the creativity and the difference in the ideas. Everyone will share their idea completely until we have 100 total. And then we're gonna start clustering them, grouping them. All the ideas that are similar to each other all fall under the same big theme. We're gonna put them in a big circle. So for example, sharing on social media, inviting friends, adding friends, tagging friends will be all under social media. Rating, providing feedback will be under review, and so on until we start to have big circles and under those big circles, small features. And then you need to number those different ideas. You number them from 1 to 100. Probably many ideas were duplicate because we might have thought of the same thing. So you might end up with 70 ideas out of 100. You start numbering them from 1 to 70 based on how important every feature is to achieve the goal. Every time I want to number an idea, I ask myself and I ask my team, If this feature is not in my product, do I achieve the goal? And this is how I put the idea higher in priority or lower in priority. After I prioritize them, I take only the first 5 features. And I say, those are the features that if they don't exist, my product will never go live. The minimum amount of features possible. And this is what we call MVP, minimum viable product. Like, this is the minimum we can offer that will deliver the goal. If you remember Facebook back in 2007, it used to be a simple wall where people just put stuff on it. You will lose your things, you will lose your posts, you will not be able to tag people, you will not be able to add an album or even have reactions on a post. If Google decided in 2000, if Facebook, decided in 2007, I'm not gonna go live until I'll be able to do machine learning that detects faces and can suggest tagging. I'm not gonna go live until I have the feature of I wanna check in safe in case of a crisis. I'm gonna have ads, I'm gonna have pages, I'm gonna have groups. Do you think that Facebook will be here today? The answer is simple. I'll ask you, who among you used MSN, MIRC, High Five, or MySpace? Probably most of us used at least one of those. But if I ask you who still uses any of those products today, probably none of you does. Facebook were smart enough to launch the minimum amount of features that serves the goal, which is sharing and being connected. With time, they started understanding and analyzing the customer. So they started analyzing how people are using Facebook. They noticed that people are uploading multiple images at the same time. And this is when they decided, we need to introduce the album so that the likes are not enough to express the feeling. And this is when they introduced the reactions. Even Twitter, with time, realized that the amount of characters they had was not enough. They adjusted based on their customers' need and possible. Launch, test with your customer, understand what your customer wants, go back and innovate based on it. Now, that's good. We thought business, we have an idea, we have a very clear idea, we understand what features we want to work on. We ended up with 5 very important features that we need to implement. What to do next? Next is we're gonna become the designer. We're gonna prototype, we're gonna test. This is how your notebooks should look like. Let us take one feature and try to draw that feature. And we're gonna draw it in details. If you are a designer, don't worry. We are not trying to replace you. We are just building the skeleton of the product so we and you can understand better. We take one feature and we started drawing it the same way you can see this notebook. We draw an actual logo and we say, after the user see the logo, they will be redirected to the login page. And we actually draw the login page with the username, password, buttons, a link to forget password. Then we draw the home page, the forget password page, the sign up page, and so on and forth. Those sketches are really nice, but they are not enough to express. They are not enough to explain. They are not alive. I cannot click on a notebook. Therefore, envision. If you are going to take one advice out of this session, please let it be envision.com. This website is gonna be your friend. If you are a graphic designer, if you are a programmer, if you are someone in business, if you are someone who just need to explain an idea for another person, Envision should be your best friend. And if you are planning to go and build your own startup, if you are planning to participate in a hackathon, in a competition, in a startup week, believe me, I've participated when I was in college in so many hackathons. Being a programmer, I thought that being in a hackathon means I need to actually be programming the entire time and build an actual product. But I realized after my second and third hackathon, 2 days is not enough to build anything. Therefore, I started using prototyping. 2 days might not be enough to actually build a product, but it is enough to choose a few features, design them right, and prototype them. What do I mean by prototyping? The following. I take the sketches I draw, I import the images inside Envision. So I get something like that. I mark the area where the button is, and I tell the system, whenever we click here, move to the next page. Whenever we click on the other button, move to another page. This will bring your sketches into live. But this doesn't look cool enough. This is why you can actually have a graphic designer to design the page and then import them in Envision and have a prototype that actually look exactly like what your application will look like. You take that application and you go to your end users. If you are building an application for supermarket delivery, take that application, take that link with you, and go into a supermarket. You know those people that give us cookies in the supermarket for us to taste the cookies? Go stand next to them and let the shopper at the supermarket taste your application and give you feedback about it. They will give you ideas, you're gonna go back, redesign, implement the feedback, and then deliver a better product. You test, and then you go all the way to the beginning, to empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing. This is an unending plan. This you will be doing your entire life while you are developing anything. And it will never stop. It's a complete loop. With that, I wrap my session and I will open up for question. I hope this was beneficial for you. I'll be reading the questions from the chat. I will send you the link of the product. It's www.envision.com. Let's go back and try to find out what's the difference between empathize and define. When you want to empathize, you still don't know who are your customers. You go and you search for people that you are trying to solve, and you start listening to their stories, just like Adam's story. I chose Adam, but probably there are multiple people who are facing the same problem but have a different story. You start collecting those stories in order to understand more who are the people facing the issue. After you collect all those stories, you feel with them, you understand them, you take this data, and out of this, you start defining who are you, the users. What are the common needs for all of those people with different stories? What is the insight that you have to those people? So the question is, what are the other disciplines that might get involved with programming other than graphic designers? So this is a very general question. Let me say it this way. Building a product will need first a business person, marketing person, analyst, a programmer, system architect, dev operation that will set up the infrastructure, IT people, back-end people, integration people. And then let's talk user research, graphic designer, user experience, who is a different person from the actual graphic designer who only does UI. And then we're going to talk about marketing people. And once we finish all of this, we start talking about data scientists. Those are the people who are going to analyze the data, how our users are actually using our application in order to tell us you need to work better on this feature, remove that feature, or add another feature. I hope this was helpful, Mariam. We still have 3 minutes to take more questions. Thank you, Muhannad, for the amazing feedback. How can you find the right people? Muhammad is asking. Well, I ran my own startup for 2 years, and for 2 years, so if I'm not gonna find the right people to work with me, and because I was so passionate about my idea and I loved it, I was so afraid to share it with the wrong people, and I ended up doing it for 2 years all by myself. But what I did after a while, when I realized I'm too tired, I cannot do it alone. And having an idea, being an entrepreneur, is a very lonely world. You need people with you. I started telling people who got excited about my startup, okay, you want to be a partner with me? Let's do that. But at first, let's have a trial period. Consider this, I consider partnership in work exactly like getting married. Before you get married, you go into this engagement period where you meet the people, you get to know them better, to know if you can spend the rest of your lives together or not, if your values are aligned. And this is exactly what I did with my startup. I said, you want to work with me? I would love to work with you. Let's first try for 2 months as a trial period. No constraint, no attachment. After 2 months, both of us decide if we want to go through or not. And believe me, after 2 months, they told me if they can do it or not. This is one thing. The other thing I would say, be open and try people, but be smart enough not to make any commitment before the other person prove to you that they are passionate just like you about the idea and they can do what they say they can do. Hopefully this answers your question. Our last minute in the session. You're welcome, Salim. Thanks for the feedback. So Al Muhannad said they found a talented group, but they kept running in circles. Well, this happens a lot, especially if the people in the startup and everyone in the group is pretty much very young. They didn't work in a big company yet. What happens is someone need to step up and say, I'm gonna be the leader, and everyone should acknowledge that this person is the leader. This person is not the boss, but in case of any misunderstanding, eventually one need to lead the ship. Can you imagine being on a big boat where you have two captains? Imagine 5 captains. It will never work. We need one captain that we all trust. And even if that captain sometimes will make decisions that we are not convinced of, we should trust that captain enough and say, it's okay, you are the leader. And being in a startup is not an easy thing. You need to be brave enough to take 3 steps forward while you take 2 backward. Always people might be hesitant and might say, I'm too afraid to commit 100%. People will leave to get a job. But the people who are still there are the people who are really devoted to the idea. I hope I answered your question, Mohannad, and whatever I said was helpful for you. It's already 8:31. So I'm not going to take much of your time anymore. I want to say thank you everyone for attending this session. This was part of the program National Youth Program for Skills Development, البرنامج الوطني لتنمية مهارات الشباب بدعم من جوجل. I am Rayan AlZahab, and you can find me on all social media, and you can find my YouTube channel. This is how I write my name. Please follow my YouTube channel and connect with me on all social media. Have a great night, and I wish you the best.